the Chi-Town experience on the flight. Let me go tune in to Keek on the mic. He gon' make sure we get our news and highlights. When you get on YouTube, you better hit the like.
The momentum continues to grow as Ryan Poles is making a huge push to sign this key veteran. Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. So, Bears fans, the momentum continues to grow for Nick Chubb joining the Chicago Bears, and we've had so many different conversations about Chubb. Obviously, the other day, we talked about how the Bears are interested in bringing Nick Chubb to Chicago, and we talked about, how Nick Chubb looks really healthy. When you watch his training clips, he's squatting 600 pounds and doing vertical jumps with his head touching the ceiling. It looks like Chubb is ready for a big comeback year after being a full year removed from that ACL tear. But now a Browns insider or a Cleveland Browns radio, according to Ken Carman, is that the Browns are also interested in bringing Nick Chubb back. They are trying hard to bring him back, but he also said that the Bears are very serious about bringing him in and are trying to make a big push to land Nick Chubb in Chicago. So once again, we talked about Chubb. He's 29 years old, now a full year removed from that ACL tear. A lot of people, including myself, think that he would be a low risk, high reward option for Ryan Poles and the Bears. And we all know how Ben Johnson feels about the running back room. He wants to make sure he's able to run the football effectively. And once again, we all know that Chubb is kind of past his glory days in the National Football League, but he can also be, at this point in his career, a still very solid option behind what we already have in DeAndre Swift. Now, here is the problem about signing Nick Chubb at this point, is that the Bears did invest a 7th round pick on Kyle Monangai, the 7th round pick out of Rutgers. And there's a lot of Bears fans, including myself, that are very excited about what he can bring and the value that he can have in this offense with Ben Johnson. Once again, he's very good in pass protection, no fumbles during his college career, a solid value as a pass catcher as well. It seems that the Bears got a solid steal in Monangai in the 7th round of the 2025 NFL draft. So there's a lot of Bears fans saying, well, why waste your money? And I totally understand that point. Why waste your money when you have a rookie on a rookie deal, a 7th round pick of Monangai that can bring a lot of value, much like, Nick Chubb would bring you. But once again, he's 29 years old. He is a year removed from the ACL injury, but he did tear his ACL a year ago. So obviously there is risk to signing Nick Chubb. And then also, how much is Chubb going to want in a small 1-year deal? When you look on the Browns' point of view, it really makes no sense for the Cleveland Browns to bring Nick Chubb back because they did draft 2 running backs in this year's NFL draft. So to me, it seems that it makes more sense for Nick Chubb to join the Chicago Bears because once again, you're playing with Caleb Williams and the improved offensive line, Ben Johnson calling the offense. I'm pretty sure Ben Johnson would have a huge role for Nick Chubb in this offense. And once again, having DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb, and still sprinkling Kyle Monangai and Roschon Johnson into the fold would be a very solid running back room for Ben Johnson here in Chicago. So obviously there is pros and cons to both sides of the table. Once again, I am totally fine with just letting, DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monangai, and Roschon Johnson being that 3-headed monster in this Bears running back room. And I think that would be good enough. And once again, you are taking that risk because Monangai is a rookie. Nick Chubb is an established veteran, a guy that has done it at a high level for years and years and years. So really the only risk that you're taking with Nick Chubb is obviously how much money is it going to cost? And is he actually going to have a bounce back year, even though he's a year removed now from that ACL injury? So there's risk to both sides of the table. So obviously I am okay with whatever the Chicago Bears do. Personally, I would love to have Nick Chubb on the Bears. Once again, it just depends on how much money he is asking for. If he's asking for a whole bunch of money just on a short 1-year deal, then hey, just stick with Kyle Monangai, DeAndre Swift, and Roschon Johnson. Even have his Travis Homer in there from time to time. And even Ian Wheeler at some point, I think can have a logistic shot of having solid playing time under Ben Johnson as well. Just let those running backs go at it, and you pass on Nick Chubb. So Bears fans, I wanted to give you guys this quick little update that this is the buzz that's going around. The momentum is continuing to grow. Obviously, the other day we talked about how this same guy Ken Carman on the Cleveland Browns sports radio show saying that when Chubb was close to landing a deal with the NFC North team, we all assume that's the Chicago Bears, but now he doubles down saying the Bears are very serious about bringing them in and are trying to make a push. At this point, between the Cleveland Browns and the Chicago Bears. So Bears fans, once again, do you want to see Nick Chubb in a Chicago Bears uniform? Let me know down below in the comment section. Also, I wanted to bring up on today's episode of Keek on the Mic is that Ryan Poles did join ESPN 1000 and just did a quick little interview. He talked about the offensive line a little bit. He had this to say. He says, whatever we settle on, especially when going into training camp, it's going to be really important to stick with that. He is meaning trying to find the best starting five and not really shuffling them. Over the last couple of years, especially under general manager Ryan Poles, the Bears have constantly shuffled the starting five, which doesn't bring any continuity to the offensive line or continuity to the offense in general. That doesn't help your young quarterback in Caleb Williams. So it's going to be really important to find the best starting five possible for the Chicago Bears. Obviously, when we look at the outlook of the offensive line here in Chicago, of course, you have Drew Dahlman at center, you have Jonah Jackson at right guard, and Joe Tooney at left guard, and of course, Darnell Wright is going to be at right tackle. The biggest question mark right now is who is going to be the starting left tackle for the Bears in 2025. Ryan Poles did also mention on ESPN 1000 that Aji Chapilla will compete at left tackle with Braxton Jones and Karan Amagaji. We've also had conversations about how there could be an opportunity maybe for moving Darnell Wright from the right side to the left side. We talked about the pros and cons of that on the latest episode on Keek on the Mic right here. But personally, I think it's going to be smart to just leave Darnell Wright at right tackle because that's where he's been for the last 2 years. It seems like going into this year, he's going to have a massive breakout for the Chicago Bears along this offensive line. And then just let Aji Chapilla, Braxton Jones, and Karan Amagaji compete at the left tackle spot. Once again, Aji Chapilla's natural fit to me is right tackle, but he does also have the capability to play on the left side as well. So to me, I think just loading up on competition on that left side of the offensive line between Chapilla, Jones, and Amagaji is definitely the best case scenario, and just leave Darnell Wright alone and leave him on that right side of the offensive line. So Bears fans, are you guys okay with possibly having Aji Chapilla, the rookie out of Boston College, possibly being the starting left tackle for the Bears in 2025? Let me know down below in the comment section. Last but not least, Ryan Poles also talked a little bit about edge rusher Montes Sweat. We got Montes Sweat in a trade back in 2023. And this is what he had to say about Montes Sweat on ESPN 1000. He said, I don't think there's anyone in this building working as hard as Montes Sweat right now. He's locked in like I've never seen him before. And that was Chicago Bears general manager Ryan Poles on ESPN 1000. So the question is, are we in for a huge year from edge rusher Montes Sweat? Once again, we got him back in 2023, and in 9 games played in 23, he had 6 sacks, and obviously he, had a big year, not only for the Commanders, but also for the Bears. But then in 2024, kind of fizzled out a little bit, only had 5.5 sacks, did have 37 hurries and 49 total pressures. But I think the little dip in production had a lot to do with the defensive line wasn't really a strong point for the Bears last year, especially when Andrew Billings went down with that season-ending injury. No one really stepped up on that opposite side of the football alongside Montes Sweat. Of course, we had Darrell Taylor, kind of had bits and spurts there, but wasn't really consistent on the opposite side of Montes Sweat. But now you look at what Ryan Poles was able to accomplish this offseason by getting Grady Jarrett, by getting Dayo Odeyingbo, right? You have Javon Dexter coming back looking really lean as well. They drafted Shamar Turner in round 2 of this year's NFL draft as well. So they really upgraded the trenches on the defensive side of the ball as well. And that should help Montes Sweat a whole lot. So obviously, we have to depend on Dayo Odeyingbo, but just looking at Andrew Billings, Javon Dexter, Shamar Turner, Grady Jarrett in the middle is going to help the production of Montes Sweat, because those guys are going to be taking on double teams. So that means Montes Sweat and even Dayo Odeyingbo she'll be getting a whole lot of one-on-ones. So at that point, it's going to be up to Montes Sweat to take advantage of those one-on-ones, which I'm really confident that he will be able to take advantage. So yeah, I am expecting a huge year for Montes Sweat here in Chicago. Obviously, a 10-plus sack season would be huge for Sweat in this Bears defensive line. I think that's the expectation from Ryan Poles, but it's obviously good that he's locked in right now. He's motivated, and obviously with Dennis Allen now in the fold as the new Bears defensive coordinator, that should also help Montes Sweat as well. So I'm expecting a big year from Montes Sweat in the Chicago Bears uniform, but are you guys also expecting a big year from Montes Sweat this season? Let me know down below in the comment section. But other than that, Bears fans, make sure you guys continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Geek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, be back for an all new Bears podcast right here on Geek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and as always, bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Geek on the Mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Geek on the Mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Geek on the Mic.